Well, I want to talk a little bit about Israel, Hamas, and Iran, and actually what it means to the price of silver. And first off, well, these are women that are out to protect their country, hardcore all the way and looking cute, I guess. I don't know. But, war is no joke, actually. That's a fact. And, but you have to keep your spirits up and your camaraderie or else you're screwed. You can't dwell upon all the bad and negative. Just like anything, you got to go ahead and think about the positive and the mission. Um, as far as silver, though, and war, as far as in the Middle East, it's going to be very bullish for the metal. I explained this a few times before, but I'll say it real quickly again. Correlation between, let's say, oil and gold is pretty decent, but especially when it starts going in a harder bull run. Correlation between oil and gold is actually fairly decent, even when oil is, sitting kind of flat. A lot of times the correlation, on average, is pretty decent. But when oil and gold really go up due to tensions in the Middle East, silver goes up. Look back to 1979 when they had the Iran hostage problem. It wasn't just inflation. There was other things going on in the Middle East that was driving up oil prices and tensions in the Middle East. Now, I'm going to point something else out. Maybe you haven't heard this. I know you know about rockets being fired from Gaza, from the Hamas into Israel, and Israel retaliating and that type of stuff. And I know on YouTube a lot of people are not keen on Israel. I don't have a problem with that because I think Israel should be criticized and kept honest as possible. And yes, in Israel there's a lot of different divergence of opinion. There's more right wing and there's more left wing and there's more center of the road. And actually American Jews don't seem to actually think the same as Israeli Jews. I kind of observed that. So you really can't make any blatant statements even if you are negative on Israel. So I just want to point that out too. But, if you look at what goes on in the rest of the Islamic world, I don't know. If I had to pick a country to live in over that area of the world, it would definitely be Israel. I guarantee you that without a fact. So, and I'm looking at it objectively. I don't mind criticism going to Israel because I think if it's true criticism, you should voice your opinion. You shouldn't just be rubber stamping everything Israel does. I agree with that, statement all the way. But at the same time, would I back Israel, back the old rabbi? Hell yeah, I would. You damn straight I would. Because, I have a pretty decent opinion of Israelis all the way. Okay. Now, as far as the what happened here recently, something you might not have heard about too much. I think it says Khartoum. I think that's how the city's pronounced in Sudan. There was an explosion in one of its munitions factories that was producing weapons and rockets and stuff, which is producing weapons for Iran and believed to be supplying Hamas and the Gaza Strip. Now, the factory just blew up, actually. It's like not really proven that Israel did it. I would imagine they did, though. Somehow it was an airstrike. Didn't just blow up by itself, and the government's accusing them of that. But just a little background in the city. It's located in, it's a very large city. It's the second largest city in Sudan. It's where the White Nile and the Blue Nile converge, and it's a metropolitan area of almost 5 million people. Not the city itself, but the metro area. Very large area, and so it supports industry, and it was actually producing weapons to go to, believed to be, going to Hamas. So what it looks like here, though, is that Israel is, it's like a war that's heating up with Iran again. And, if it doesn't happen before the winter, I would guess that it's not going to happen till the springtime. But I think what this is going on right now, like with that factory blowing up and stuff like that in Sudan, and, Israel being accused of a strike, which, if they did it, to me, I think that's a logical thing to do because they're supplying arms to Iran and Hamas. And them striking back at Hamas and things like that, and this the airstrikes and everything, I believe that it's all preface for the war with Iran. First, you want to get rid of all your enemies that are close to you. In other words, if they went to war with Iran, Iran would be supplying Hamas like crazy. They don't want to have problems very local to them. They want to actually hit them first. And, this is not an Israeli, but it could be. But this probably would be the secret weapon against the Iranians because I'd imagine that, they are so suppressed over there with all their norms, and it's just not humanly possible to obey all the religious laws that they have, which I know that the people on the top in Iran, the religious clerics and everything, they do whatever they want. It's like everything exists. It's almost like the politicians and everything in the United States. The elite do what the hell they want. They punish the masses for everything they do. So this is pretty much the norm in Iran also. But, maybe some of the special forces soldiers that Israel has that can, storm the beach, maybe make a few converts out of these people because, that would be the ideal situation because in reality, they're a little crazy with that Islamic stuff if they take it too far. That's my opinion on that. So, but what it does look like that these raids, the conflict with the Hamas that happened right after the election, it does appear that everything is starting to heat up again. I think that's a legitimate thing. I know it's been said for years and years, and if you look back even recent stories, they were talking about a conflict with, going to war with Iran right before the election because Obama wouldn't interfere with it. There was speculation on that. But, looking really like the cold, hard facts, if I was Israel, what would I do? I would hit Hamas first. I would secure everything around the area first before I went to war. In other words, say we had a problem with, this was, just imagine yourself as an Israeli and you're sitting in a country surrounded by, potential enemies. You want to get those potential enemies first before you launch an attack that's going to be some distance away from your land. And it also is a good practice run to see exactly, how your military can perform, and also how well the Iron Dome can perform. Now, the United States gave $200 million to Israel for the Iron Dome. It's like a lot of U.S. technology, and there's supposed to be another $600 million going to that too. Again, so war's big business. Might be something to look for. And I'm going to say something about Netanyahu. I know a lot of people hate his guts on YouTube, and I know he's more right-wing, but, he's got a military background. He was in the Israeli Defense Force. He participated in a number of special forces missions against their Israelis' enemies. And, he was actually shot. So this guy is not some slouch politician sitting back on his ass saying go to war. He was there. He participated in a lot of secret special forces missions and as an officer in the officer corps of the Israeli Defense Forces. So, have a little, some people really slam this guy left and right. I know he's pretty right wing because in a lot of ways, being too right wing, as the Mossad pointed out, that you could be rash and jump to a bad decision that could be bad for Israel. So he's gun ho to go after Iran. It could have been suicidal to Israel. But if you look at Netanyahu, he's not some slough politician. Like somebody like Lieberman, who's Jewish in the United States, who says, yeah, go to war. The guy's never been in any kind of conflict or nothing. I got no respect for that guy. Another thing is, why is he saying go to war? He's an American, right? Yeah, I understand about protecting Israel, but he's so pro-Israel at being an American, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's that good, especially for a politician. But, in the case of Netanyahu, he was born in Israel. He's the first prime minister that was born in Israel, actually born in the state of Israel itself. So, he fought for Israel. He was on, special forces missions as an officer. So, he knows what's going on. He actually got shot, too. It's like, he's got his opinion. He's got his own hardcore beliefs. He's pretty right-wing. I know it. But, I got more respect for a guy like that than I do, but far more respect for a guy like that than I do for Lieberman. He just says go to war. Netanyahu's actually been there. So, but I think what's coming up here, financially, is you're going to see oil creeping up a little bit at a time. It's not going to go away. And, as tensions in the Middle East keep escalating, because I don't think Israel's going to let up on Hamas. They're going to have to secure everything around their country as good as they possibly can, eliminate all local threats as much as possible. before a war starts with Iran. I think that would be the logical thing to do anyway. I mean, it'd be pretty stupid not to do that, where you have, an enemy like right next to your borders while you're trying to go to a war with a country that's, hundreds of miles away. I mean, put the cart, in the right place with the horse. Do things in order first. So that's what I see is going on. But as far as oil prices going up, that's going to cause oil prices to go up, and it will cause silver to go up. Now, silver not necessarily could be. It could be if you catch it on the peaks and you catch it on the lows. How many people do that? But for the majority of people, basically, silver is going to be a hedge against inflation, because 2013, I think, is going to be a year where we're going to have a lot of inflation. Not 100%, but it could be like way over 15%. And a few years from now, as inflation goes up, gasoline might be very easily $20 a gallon or some crap like that. Sounds insane, doesn't it? But if you don't have silver, if gasoline's going up that much, silver's going to go up even more. That I could say. It's not like you're going to make money. It's going to protect your ass big time, and that's what you need to do, because if you're holding fiat dollars, you're going to need a hell of a lot more of them. I know I'm preaching to the choir. It's the same old message, but it's true as a heart attack. I mean, I can't say anything else other than that. It's true as a heart attack. Just looking at economic principles, what goes on. And I could tell you, I think this war with Hamas is a prelude to what's coming to happen with Iran. It's been cooking in the background for a lot of years. I know it. We could have actually went to war, or Israel could have actually went to war with Iran back, any time in 2011 or 2012. It could have very easily happened. It was on the brink a bunch of times. But it looks like now that, Obama's in office clearly again, their plan is to first not just go to war with Iran, but just go knock out as many enemies around them. And, that was an interesting thing that you probably didn't pick up on the news, that there was this factory in the Sudan that just blew up, probably from an airstrike, and they were supplying out arms to Iran and Hamas. So, things are going step by step, and I don't think they're going to back away this time. I think it's clearly going in the direction of war in the Middle East. It's usually when they're all screaming and it's hitting the big headlines, like they're going to close the Straits of Hormuz and all this kind of crap. It doesn't happen. But things start quieting down a little bit, and it's almost like it's not going to happen, and they're going to do the sanctions. I say it is going to happen. Maybe not right away. But what I say is very clear is that the sanctions are not going to work. The sanctions are only working against the Iranian people. It's not strong enough to change the regime. Not at all. Not at all. So I know war is in the cards, because it's not just about Israel. It's about the total destruction of the dollar due to the oil burst that's in Iran. And let me put it this way. You could say our Western elite are evil, but I'm going to tell you this, too. If Iran had its way, they would issue fiat money as reserve currency, and so would China. And they would, and you know what? Westerners would be on a short end of that deal, big time. You'd be the slave labor, and they'd be the gods with the paper reserve currency. They'd love to have the same deal. So, I should point that out, too. Use your head, because, I know our Western elite are bad news, but it's like you don't want to be dealing with, Iranian elite or Chinese elite, because you're beyond nothing in that situation. So, a little common sense for that, too.